Are Man City ready to win the Premier League title? That is the question we'll be attempting to answer in today's video. But welcome back to the City Ramble, leading the conversation in the world of Manchester City. If you're new, hit the follow button. We're aiming for 5k subscribers before the start of the 25-26 Premier League season. We're lagging behind a bit, guys. It's only about 2 weeks away. So if you are new, if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Plenty of conversations surrounding Manchester City. And don't think it's just me, by the way. There will be plenty of other guests as well when the season gets back up and running, because a lot of people might not know, but we are a daily football club, well, a daily Man City podcast during the season, during the months where the season is on Monday through to Friday. So plenty of plugging that, and we'll be uploading some of the clips onto here as well. But bit of a check-in today. There hasn't been that much news in the world of City. Obviously, over the weekend we had talk about James Trafford, and Fabrizio gave it the here we go. David Ornstein said, it's done deal. Believe the medical's taking place on the day of recording, so that might be done and dusted. We can expect an announcement, I'm guessing, assuming everything has gone well. The players are back into training, so it feels like attention is firmly on this new season now. We've had the Club World Cup, we've had the holidays for the players, we are now locked in with I think, what is it now, 15th? No, 16th of August is City's first game of the season, away to Wolves. So, yeah, we are less than 2 weeks away. No, nearly 2 weeks away. Forget it. We're close. That's what we are. So I just wanted to sort of check in and be like, where are City? Are City prepared? What needs to be done? Does anything need to be done? I know some people will be demanding more deals. Some people will be wanting players to leave, etc., etc. I think the first point for me, I've seen a lot of hysteria, specifically online, and look, I know you shouldn't read too much into Twitter or, maybe even some YouTube comments and whatnot. People saying that City are getting left behind by Liverpool and Arsenal. We're standing still. We're not doing deals, blah, blah, blah. What I think has happened here is City, this summer anyway, got the majority of their deals done before the Club World Cup. Remember, the excitement that we had for Ryan Cherki, what was that, 35 million quid, bargain. Tijani Reinders, best midfielder in Serie A last season. Ryan Aït-Nouri, Premier League proven left back. Do you remember the last time City had a proper left back? He's come through the door for about 30 million quid as well. Everyone was praising Manchester City's transfer business, saying it's genius. They're not overspending. They've gone out and they've targeted areas that they need to. This rebuild that started in January as well, don't forget, Vita Heiss, Omar Mamouche, Kusanov, Nico Gonzalez, maybe one or two we haven't seen as much as we maybe would have liked, but they're in the door. This rebuild has started. Hugo Viana is getting players in. What I think has happened is City have done that business. They had the Club World Cup. It didn't go to plan in terms of the results. Fine, whatever. Since then, Liverpool have started doing business. Arsenal have started doing business. Chelsea are continually, as Chelsea do, continually buy players for what feels like forever. Tottenham Hotspur are even doing a bit of business. Man United are, trying to do business. Newcastle definitely aren't doing business. I think the only business happening to them is getting mugged off. But it just feels like City, maybe because they're not, getting the flashy deals. They're not signing a new striker like Arsenal and Liverpool. They're not spending big on these players because they've already got them through the door. And I feel like that kind of has been a bit blown out of proportion from some people, not all, because we will speak right back in this video and, what's going on with City's right back position, who's going to be playing that position next season, etc., etc. a little bit later on in this video. But I feel like everyone just needs to take a little bit of a deep breath because City have been making deals. They've been making big deals. It looks like another one's going to come across the line. And I think getting that goalkeeper situation for me, heading into this second half of the summer after the Club World Cup, that was almost number one priority for me, because I've said if you've been watching the previous videos on this channel, I said that City, for me, simply cannot go into next season with both Stefan Ortega and Ederson just having 1 year left on their contracts. For me, that was red flag central, because you need your goalkeeper, at least one of them, to be locked in. You don't want to be having, January comes around and they're signing pre-contract agreements and the buggering off elsewhere. You need them to be properly locked in. And I think by signing James Trafford, we did a video of this on the channel when the news dropped. So if you want a sort of full breakdown, full sort of reaction to the James Trafford news, you can go and check that out as well. But for me, it's the best situation because apart from signing, I don't know, maybe Donnarumma would have been great, although I'm not even convinced he would have been. But I just think for what City are getting, for the price they're paying, for the situation, the environment he's coming into, James Trafford will not start the season as City's number one. I'm pretty confident of that. You know, it's not. I've not got any inside information there. I'm just confident in saying that James Trafford will, at least to start with, be the number two. But I feel like the plan, if I'm deciphering it correctly, and it might all change, Ederson could still go, but if it is, the news is right that Ortega's probably the one who's going to leave, Ederson's going to stick around. I feel like the plan is get James Trafford in, show him the ropes a bit, he can work with Ederson. If, for whatever reason, Ederson's performance levels don't step up, because I think they do need to, not going to lie, I do love the man. I think he's City's best ever goalkeeper. I've said that several times before as well. But I still think that they need to, there needs to be an improvement in performances. If they don't, James Trafford is there. He's hungry. He's ready. And, like I said with the fee, don't get me wrong. What is it, 35 million quid? Whatever the fee. It's not cheap, but in the modern day for a goalkeeper, that's decent. But also the fact that City had obviously sold him beforehand. So it's like a net spend of like 13 million quid for James Trafford. If it doesn't work out in a couple of years, they can probably flog him and still make a profit. For me, that has just been really really well handled, I think. So that's one positive. The right back situation, shout out if you aren't, make sure to get in the City Ramble Discord as well. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button whilst you're down there as well, if you don't mind. The right back situation, I feel like it's a little bit different because right now, in my opinion, City have too many defenders on the books. We've still not heard any noise about one of the defenders, John Stones, Nathan Ake, Manuel Akanji, even, if it's Vita Heiss going out on loan. We've not heard any movement yet in that department. Obviously, we had Kyle Walker join Burnley earlier on in the summer. But in terms of the players that were in the Club World Cup squad, we haven't heard anything about that. I think it was the Manchester Evening News did a piece on Monday along the lines of, expect players to be leaving. Expect players to be, over the next week, 2 weeks, expect outgoings to accelerate because Guardiola's squad right now is much bigger than he would want it to be. Being said, as much as for me, right back at the moment is City's weakest position in the squad, the more I think about it, unless it's Tino Livramento and unless they can sort of move some levers, unsettle him a little bit like has happened with Alexander Isak, if he signs a new contract, he signs a new contract, that's done and dusted. He's obviously not going to join after signing a new contract. Although Fabian Delph did in, was it 2015, 2016, something like that, which was a little bit of a throwback. But yeah, anyway, if he signs a contract, Tino Livramento probably won't be joining City this summer. You can probably confidently say that. But there's still like a percentage, like 5% of me that thinks, maybe we'll have to see. If they don't get him though, I would be really shocked if they went out and got a right back, just because I don't know how the numbers work. You've got, nominally, I guess, because they're not really right backs, they just have played that position. But at the moment, you've got Mateus Nunes and you've got Rico Lewis in that position. You've also got Akanji, who has played there in the past, obviously, most famously being when City won the treble. You've got Kusanov, who might be able to play there as well. We saw, was it away at Real Madrid in the Bernabeu game? He did, in my opinion, fantastic. He shut Vinny Jr. down at points in that game. But I don't know how. For me, it would take probably two of the centre-halves, including Akanji, to move on before City had the space. Because it is it is a bigger squad than Guardiola would like. And even still, if you're one of those people who are like, well, City need to have a bigger squad, they need to, avoid injuries by having more players. I think when you actually look at the numbers, I don't have them to hand, but I think when you look at the numbers at the moment, one or two players might have to be left out of the Champions League squad just because of because of the size of the squad. So I do think that right back position, as much as I would really like City to sign a right back, because I think that is the weakest spot, and I would absolutely love, I think it'd be up there with a perfect window if they could go out and get Tino Livramento. I think that leaves City's squad overall with very little flaws. And yes, you might say, well, there's still a couple of the old players that need to move on. I don't mind having some unks. You just don't want the unction, as it was at times last year. You don't want every single position to be like, oh, goodness me, where have their legs gone? You do need that balance. And we will speak about some of the competitors for City in terms of looking at the Premier League at the end of this video. But you don't want a squad full of players that aren't either proven or don't have the experience, or both. We'll touch on that briefly shortly. But I just feel like to get a right back right now, City would have to pull some levers that I just don't know if there's the time. I don't know if there's the appetite for players to come in and sign. As much as you do, I do feel like this. We are going to see a slimmer squad. Off the top of my head, James McAtee looks like he's gone. Jack Grealish looks like he's gone. I would be gobsmacked. I would be absolutely stunned if one of the defenders doesn't go. And I think it's going to be John Stones. I think Nathan Ake's safe, although I believe his contract is up next summer. So that's, again, one to watch. I think Nathan Ake's 2026 contract expiry, and then Manuel Akanji's 2027. So I think City definitely, in the next 12 months, will have to look at the centre-back department as, needing a new... Nathan Ake's 2027 as well. So there's a bit of wriggle room there. I think it's John Stones who's out of contract next summer. Might be wrong there. Don't know. Someone will let me know, I'm sure. But I feel like John Stones is probably going to be the make way. You might get a little bit more out of Nathan Ake, although he does still have his injuries. Obviously, he's left-footed as well. Provides a bit of cover in that position. The pitch will probably allow Gvardiol to play more at centre-back, so he didn't have to go out and cover left-back. I can see how Nathan Ake fits into the squad. I can see how John Stones fits into the squad, but he's just never fit, and that's such a shame, because when he is, for me, there isn't a player in that position in central defence in world football. So I think there'll be movement there. I won't be surprised if we see a midfielder go, probably Ilkay Gundogan. Kovacic is obviously recovering from this surgery. I know Kovacic isn't widely loved. I still think as a squad player, he's got a role to play. And this, for me, is the crux of it. When people are saying, get these players out, get these players out, get these players out, I don't always agree. Sometimes you need fresh faces, rotation, whatever. My argument is a lot of these players have a role to play. Some of them, right now, where they are in their career, I'm not necessarily going to name names on this video. I'm sure people can put two and two together. They shouldn't be starters. There's a difference for me of being a squad player, being somebody who's useful to the entire team, versus somebody who starts every week. And I think that's kind of what Guardiola will have to work out this season. City do need to step into the future a little bit. We need to be seeing more of the younger guys, because if not, we're going to have some similar problems that we faced last season. They're going to rear their ugly head again, or they might. There might be new problems because players get older, and players that we don't necessarily feel like are dropping off right now, maybe they do start to drop off. I don't know. So that'll be something that's worthwhile watching out for. In terms of competition, obviously, like I said, about 2 weeks, give or take a few days, I guess, until the Premier League season starts. I think it's 2 weeks on Friday. So we're less than 3 weeks now, nearly just over 2 weeks. Liverpool, obviously, plenty of talk about them. They seem to be winning the transfer market, and I put that in quotation marks because the team that wins the transfer market very rarely actually goes on to... No, I don't need quotation marks there, because they very rarely go on to actually win anything of worthwhile, because I remember when Chelsea won the transfer market a few years ago and did basically nothing. They're obviously making, great transfers. I don't think anybody can deny the fact that Florian Wirtz, Milos Kerkez, Frimpong, Hugo Ekitike, and probably Alexander Isak. Let's be real here, coming in. That is a great window, especially when they have just been crowned Premier League champions. I do feel like one part that people aren't mentioning when it comes to Liverpool is, yes, they might be winning the transfer market, but what does that do in terms of pressure? Because that's kind of one of the things that worked in Liverpool's favour last season. Nobody was speaking about Liverpool as title challengers when Arne Slot took over. It was City or it was Arsenal. It turned out it was neither when May came around and the Premier League title was being handed out. It was neither of them. So Liverpool have obviously put themselves on the map. They would have been disappointed in the Champions League, although losing to PSG, eventual champions, that makes it a little bit of a more, ceremonious exit, I guess. But eyes will be on them, whether they like it or not, whether they can sort of say, well, we've just won the league, we're still rebuilding, loads of players are coming in. Eyes are going to be on them purely because of the money that's been spent. And I hate that about football, because players don't dictate their transfer fees. If Alexander Isak comes in for 150 million quid, or Florian Wirtz, who's come in for 120 million, or whatever it is, that's not their fault. Some players who have big transfer fees don't live up to it. Some players who have smaller transfer fees exceed them. That's kind of football. But I do think if they don't get off to a flyer, if for whatever reason they start stumbling, and I genuinely think there is a case that Liverpool could start the season slowly, because we're talking probably 5 or 6 new faces, big, first team players coming in. If they don't click, and they might not click because it takes a while for teams to really gel, I think the pressure on Liverpool could be massive. I really do, and I don't feel like people are speaking about that nearly enough in terms of their transfer window so far. It's a similar case for Arsenal. To be honest, I actually really like the business that Arsenal are doing. I feel like it's gone under the radar a little bit. For me, I'd have been happy to see them sign Benjamin Sesko, because I don't think he's necessarily what either they need in terms of a striker, but also B, in terms of what people think he is. I feel like he's got another couple of steps to go. It'd be interesting if Newcastle can get their hands on him, because that's a better move for Benjamin Sesko, in my opinion, compared to Arsenal. I don't think he's the guy that comes in and wins in the league. Gyökeres might be. Gyökeres has more chance of being that, in my opinion, just because obviously he's a little bit older. He's granted not had it in a top 5 European league, but you look at his goals return, it's astonishingly good. And they don't need, Arsenal, in my opinion, don't need. If they got Alexander Isak, for example, that would obviously have been a great signing, but they just need somebody who can put the ball in the net 15 times in open play in matches where it might have previously finished 1-1. They can then go on and get a win. For me, it is about that. Gyökeres doesn't necessarily have to play every single game for Arsenal, I don't think, because you look at their record, especially in big matches, it's really good. Their issue seems to be in the lesser matches that they can't convert into wins. I know a lot has been said about Madueke's price. Again, going back to it, players don't dictate the fee. He's a decent squad player. Zubimendi, I think, will be a fantastic player for them. I've watched him in one of the pre-season friendlies. I think it was against Newcastle, ticking the ball over really well. Can see him and Declan Rice playing really well together. They seem to have attributes that really complement each other. And obviously the defence anyway was really good. Right now, I think Arsenal are my title predictions because of the worries and the concerns I spoke about Liverpool. But being said, in terms of the topic of this video, to wrap it up, I don't think City are that far behind. I really don't. We've mentioned the right-back slot that I still think is part of the issue. I want to start seeing City shaping their squad. I want to see City really getting a position where they know Guardiola, City, the coaching staff in general know who their guys are heading into the new season. But I don't think they're that far behind. Do I feel right now City are title favourites? No. But I'm not seeing a gap. I'm not seeing a real big gap that City won't be able to jump this season. So are City ready to be title winners? Maybe not right now, but I don't think they're far behind. If you enjoyed this video, as always, subscribe, like, all of that lovely business. There'll be plenty in the build-up to the new Premier League season, and during it as well. Loads of reviews, loads of reactions, loads of nonsense. So if you're a fan of that, make sure to be subscribing. But it's been a pleasure. A bit of a longer video. Let me know if you prefer the shorter 10-minute videos, or if you want to, 20-minute, 30-minute ramble. I guess it's in the name, the City Ramble. But until next time, it's been a pleasure, and we will see you later.